Okay, let me do a little comparison between Arturia Synthi V and the original, the AKS, and in the end it will be a very long video. You don't have to stand by, but only if you're really interested. But what I would say, my conclusion at the beginning is this is quite academic. Yes, you can do nearly all with this. The team did a wonderful job on the software. It's incredible. They even tried to get this vintage touch, and I can't even measure what they put into this to make it become alive. But this is still emotion, you know. This is emotion for me, and it's got this haptical thing, and each of these is different. Yes, I have access to 3 of those, and even the random voltage generator, and well, it's still a different thing, of course, but this is not what they had in mind. You know, it's bucks. Somebody sells it on eBay. Here, this is crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't buy that today for that money. But if I was a millionaire, I would. Yeah, because this is incredible. But for everybody out there who wants to get into EMS and wants to understand, this one by Arturia is really great. As is the IVCS3 of Alessandro Petrolati on the iPad. It's really also brilliant, and imagine that this is an Intel Core i7 with gigabytes of RAM, and it's working somehow, and on the iPad it's also working quite well. So if you don't want to spend a lot of money, an alternative could be Xavier Odin's Xils 4 that also runs on the PC. I don't know if it's a Mac, probably also. This is the big version. And he was more into this EMS Synthi 100 thing. And so if you're really into experimental composition and want to do the big thing, I would take Xils 4000 along with the vocoder 5000. And for all the others, Arturia V collection, we know it's probably the best vintage clones that are on the market. Some of the best, and this one is quite good. But let's have a look. If it gets boring, you can get out of it. I'll do different videos. The first would be a comparison of the hardware with the software, the design, and the second would be a patch comparison, and the third I go into depth with isotope inside to have a look if the waveforms are okay. You will see it's not that easy. And normally I would take months to do it very objectively reliable and valid. As it comes to science, you have to do it better. But just to get a glimpse of this, and just for the guys out there who are EMS nerds and think this is not good or this is good, to make an approach. Let's have a look. Okay. Here are some similarities and some differences between both. So let's start with the Arturia. Frequency in the original is here. Of the oscillators, 3 oscillators, it's the same. The shapers are the same. Waveforms are pretty the same, yes. And this one is also the same. Then we got the noise generator, the level of the noise, the output filter, which is quite a little bit redundant in the original, maybe here also. And we have the channel volumes, because it's got 2 channels, and you can pan them because it's stereo. What's left in the Arturia, and you have this in the original, is you have a stereophone jack. Here you can attach a scope, which I find quite interesting. This is a single also. This whole row up here is not present in the Arturia. Well, they say it's okay because as soon as I've put it into something like Cubase, I can route some external stuff via audio into it, or this can be done in your DAW. I'm not that sure if some level inputs like here in the original, they're quite special, and the microphone inputs also, if they could have virtualized this also from the character. But, well, this is very academic. But this is the first thing I really realized, that the keyboard or the random voltage generator are normally attached here, and there's nothing here in the Arturia. So the filter, I was looking for it because this row is not present here. In the original, it's somewhere here. And here we got the frequency, the response, and the level of the filter and the ring mode. Everything is in place, except this on, off, but this is not necessary. But we have this envelope in the mute channel 1 and channel 2, just with the switches here. I'm looking for that here. It's not in there. And what we have is a quantizing. I don't have in the original. Quantizing in the Arturia is here. Well, that's quite convenient if you want to tune it like a chromatic, and quantizing is quite good. But in the original, it's not there, and I love that it's not there. Sorry, that's my opinion. And even syncing two oscillators. Well, there are people who got modifications on their AKS. They can do it, but my original from 73 hasn't got the sync button. It's quite nice adding up here, and the meter control voltages is also not there. As you might see, as we come through the matrix, there's also no metering in here. And Alessandro Petolati's IVCS3 for the iPad, he's got it, and I think it's quite nice to have it. But let's look at the matrix. So main volume is there is no main volume I've got here, but it's good to have one. So we have output channel 1, 2, and oscillator 1 and 2 are not divided into like in Arturia into this and that here in the original. You do it over here. It's a good idea to make a different patch, like one waveform, two waveforms. They have a little bit of space here. Oscillator 2 the same. Only oscillator 3 in the original has got the difference between the square wave and the other one. And then we've got noise. What they say is keyboard and sequencer is here input channel 1, channel 2. So let's not forget, this got this inputs, and it also means the keyboard could be present there and there, depending on where you patch it. And they call it here, they call it keyboard and sequencer, so this is a difference. Filter is there, trapezoid is there. Sample and hold, haven't got in the original. There's no sample and hold at all. There's a random voltage generator I've shown in a different video, so you have to do this externally in the original. Then we got the envelope signal, we got the ring mod, we got the reverb, and we got the stick. And everything is attached up here to output. Meter is left out, output 2 is here. We got the sample and hold added. In the original it's no sample and hold. We got the envelope, we got the ring mod, we got the reverb, the filter, the oscillator frequency, of course, decay of the envelope shaper, the reverb mix, filter frequency, output level. So mostly everything is there. The stick is there down here. The origin is also there. What it hasn't got, the Arturia, is the Presto patch. And they say, okay, we can make this digitally here, but I love the Presto patch. I have one. If you put it in and squeak it around, you get very weird sounds. So it's something you can't do virtually. That's an advantage of hardware. What we also have got the different sticks go in here with different capacities. Now I've got white, I've got orange ones. This seems to be red here. Old 25 is a green one, and we also got the orange one, which is supposed to be the yellow ones here. So everything is sort of in place. The envelope shaper attack on, decay off. And as you go into the left position here, you get the trapezoid running. As soon as it's manual, you have a normal envelope. We got the trapezoid, you can put it in down here, so it's different configurated. We got the signal here, and we got the reverb. And the level of the reverb, input level, haven't got input level because this one has got inputs. Here there is no input at all. I could level, and the range of the joystick here and an attack button. So all in all, overall it looks quite good. Let's have a short look here at the keyboard. It looks a little bit different, but it is not really. What we have got over here in the original is we don't have sequence transpose. I can do a sequence length up here. This is kind of the same. and here it's called free and sync. I haven't got this at all. I can put the note length into thirds tone, 1/2 tone. So this is totally different. Of course, we have a play and a record button, a little bit differently configured, and we have this pitch spread thing that comes along with the inputs on the original. It's a little bit different. You have here, it's called real time, and here it's called sequence. Probably they mean kind of the same by that. And in the end, we have the envelope shaper that's also kind of the same, where you can defer via a wheel. This one has got a wheel between keyboard and sequence. This is between sequence and real time. So one is manual, one is automatic, a little bit different. And random, you just press it and it makes some random, you see it up here, tones. So, and attached by that. I can tell you this original is very tricky, and there is one sort of this that's touch sensitive, pressure sensitive. Of course, it's touch sensitive. I know from the Stockhausen studio WDR in Cologne, they have an AKS where you can press and the capacity of your fingers could affect the filters. So via MIDI, you should do that via MPE or something like that. I'm not sure if it's capable to do that. The major difference here in the Arturia, as it comes to the Arturia, is all these things that are up here, where you have different functions like noise level that goes into destinations. It's sort of a meta matrix, I would say, into reverb, noise, sample, and hold. The joystick could have different functions and modulations. Effects, you don't have effects in the original at all, except the spring reverb, which I love very much. People mistake spring reverbs as horrible. I think it's a fundamental way to form the timbre of the voices, and it has its own character, especially the EMS one. So you have all these things where you can pimp it with, and one of the major differences, you can also say the matrix should behave like a modern one that's very stable, or vintage with a little bit quirky things in there, due to the parts that are in the AKS, in the original, because this is was made from a shop near where Zinoviev and Coquerel lived, where they got the parts from old military stuff and so, and it's diodes, and this makes a very certain character, and Arturia understood that this makes it, and you can switch to vintage. What I personally don't like is the poly mode, because many people, the first sound they do, they go into like pads, and this is not what EMS is all about, but this is my personal taste. Let's say it's a nice add-on to do polyphonic stuff, and it's also, yeah, if you want to sell this as a plug-in, people would say, I want to have this polyphonic. And as we all know, the alternative would be Xils 4 by Javier Odin. And that one is quite much more powerful. It looks like this. I just show you. So it's coming up. This is the Xils 4, and this is quite a bigger machine. And he's got a lot of things that come from the S100, and this is more puristic to me. I know Javier was working for Arturia. I don't know how this comes along, but as it comes to experimental stuff on the big scale, I would take this one, and it's much more complicated and bigger than the AKS. But so far, let's have a listen to just two patches. I do one bigger patch here and the other one on the AKS, the original, just to have a sound comparison. I think I take a patch from Paul Schilling, my friend Paul Schilling. He did wonderful patches for the Arturia AKS here, or Synthi V, and let's have a look how this sounds, and I do the same patch here, and then we get into a comparison. Well, this is a long video, isn't it? Okay, let's check. Here we got the one that Paul did, and via the attack you get a little bit into that here, and when I change And the keyboard behaves like... Okay, now the AKS. Ah, it's also a little bird here. And what can I do? The attack? There's little minimal differences between the attack and the on and the envelope, but I don't want to be too academic here. And also words in the keyboard. So let's have a look what I can do if I get into I get a sound then. Now I'll do the same with pulse. So the trapezoid should be on. Sounds a little bit different, but maybe it depends. This is one. This is the AKS. I would say, well, it functions kind of the same. Every instrument has its own character. And yeah, you've seen it works. So let's switch over to in-depth view into the waveforms. This is the Arturia one, and I put in a sine wave, and you see that it's very clear. Very nicely done. This is the AKS. See that there is noise. The typical thing of the AKS when I put in a sine wave here. Okay, we got sort of a same spectrum here, in that it's really similar. You see there's much more distortion in here. I use the shaper here, and then it comes a little bit near to what the AKS is about. There's still a difference between the both. So you can say, okay, the AKS is not providing a clear wave here, but I believe it's part of the charm. I'll put in a square wave. And now let's compare. Same tone. You see the peaks are kind of the same. It depends a little bit on the level I'm using here. But when I use the shaper here, you have this. I'm coming near here. So now this is the original EMS, and this is the Arturia. Say I put this to 6 and put it to 6 here, the shaper also. And now let's compare Arturia, EMS. So I might get there if I put up the level a little bit. Of course you need some more level. The level must be kind of the same. But still, in here, you see something that is different. I do some ring modulation, and this is how it looks in the Arturia of both. Well. Now let's have a look what happens. We have this sweet spot somewhere. With this one. Kind of the same behavior. Look at the filters. Next step, I'm starting with the Arturia again. So here we go. Now comes the filter. It's a low pass, as you see. And now I put in the response. You see the distortion coming up in here and go down. You get the partials overtones running down. And there's quite a little distortion in there. That's a very nice simulation, I think, virtually. It's not that perfect. If I put it up the level, it's even crying more, you see? Let's have a look. But it sounds a little bit different. If I put in the response, it's starting much higher. Much clearer through the overtones here. So this is the AKS filter. So this is the Arturia, and here comes the AKS again. You hear it's much more intense. Wow. So basically, okay, obviously there are some differences, as you can also see here in this spectrum. It's different, but maybe every filter of every AKS is different to that. So here comes the square wave. It's a very low frequency. It's going down to that. You can see it. And this is in a mid position here, so no wave folding or no wave shaping at all. Here we start and have a look where we might end. Here's the tone we had, and now I'll do some wave shaping. We see this here. Now I'm here in the AKS, and now I go up. Oh, let me have a look, let me compare it to the other one. Now both are running together. This looks quite similar, this area here and this area. Very well done by Arturia. I'll put off the Arturia and have a look at the shaping of the oscillator here. Forward, backward. And now I do the same with the Arturia. We have these strange mountains in here. Let's have a look at the AKS, and yeah, it's also ending around there. Now you only hear the noise of the Arturia synth, and I go to the max on the right side. Nothing. There is something happening, like with the AKS, but on the other side, yeah, very little bit on that side. That's enough. I should do quite a lot more with LFO and with ring mod, but just to get a glimpse of how you can approach something like that. Normally it would take a week or so to go really into depth, and this is a very redundant setting I have here.